Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. Search continues for 14-year-old swept away in stream, body of 10-year-old found. The search continues up to news time for the second of two girls who were washed away in the stream in Jobs Hill, St. Mary. In a previous newscast, it was reported that the bodies of both girls were found. However, it can now be confirmed that only one of the girls, 10-year-old Tiana Ricketts, has been found, while the search continues for her sister, 14-year-old Hallie K. Smelly. Head of the St. Mary Police Division Superintendent Barbara Morgan Simpson confirmed the incident with reporters.
The search started yesterday and they were not found. Started again this morning. One was found. I understand it's a younger one. 10 years old, Tiana Ricketts. The search is still underway for the other little girl, and that involves the JCF and the JDF. Members of the community, family members, member of parliament, is highly engaged in the activities as well.
Speaking with reporters on Friday morning, Member of Parliament for South East St. Mary, Norman Dunn, says the sudden downpour Thursday was unusual.
It appeared as if this sheet of water just came down from nowhere. It was just started to rain, but obviously the rain was falling much harder, in another area, and this stream was one of the pathways to lead down to a river we call Tom's River, and then that leads into the Caston River. And it appears as if just a deluge of water came down. Three of them were down there, and it appears as if one might have lost her slippers, and then she tried to go for the slippers based on what they're saying, and the water basically started to pull her away, and the larger one, which is a twin, tried to catch on to her, and then she got caught in it as well. So the other little one that was there ran up to the house and started screaming to the parents, and then they came down, but they were gone. Then I was speaking to her last night.
Yes.
She couldn't even speak.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I went up there this morning, she was kind of speak. That's how she has seen it, and I guess that's how any mother, any person would have taken it. I mean, it is words. There's no words that can describe this. No words whatsoever can describe this. I mean, I really want to say to the residents, it's a tragic occurrence, but it also shows that communities can come together, and that's exactly what happened today. Communities from Job Hill, from Machine, from Top Linster, they all came out. They all came out, Mark, and everyone was in the river everywhere. The police came out. The Deputy Prime Minister was aware of it. He tried to organize as much as he could to allow the police and other, civil infrastructure organizations to assist in the search. So it's unfortunate. I mean, we're really hoping for a miracle. But it's tragic.
JUTC Managing Director, serious need for a dedicated school bus service. Managing Director of the Jamaica Urban Transit Company, JUTC, Paul Abrahams, says there's serious need for a dedicated school bus service. Abraham says this is the only way to tackle challenges related to school transportation.
Public transportation on the whole is not profitable. It's subsidized heavily by governments throughout the world. However, I have always believed that in looking at public transportation, you need to have a dedicated school bus service. That is something that should be done. Whether it can be done with the resources from government or not, that's a different thing. But if you intend to solve the situation for schools, you need to have a dedicated school bus service. If you look in America, for example, England, you have these yellow buses. They are dedicated strictly for school.
Meanwhile, President of the Jamaica Association of Principals of Secondary Schools, Lynn Van Wright, joined the call for a bus service dedicated to students. He says transportation, or the lack thereof, has a direct impact on learning outcomes.
Sort of disappointed that there seems to be no immediate plans for something like that. I really believe that for what is happening in our schools and in the transportation sector, I really think that ought to be. Because if you check, for example, results in schools, rural schools generally in terms of performance perform much more poorly than urban schools. And it has a lot to do with transportation, because many of the kids don't have access because of the transportation. I don't know too if there can be some thought in relation to even more subsidies for rural students and not just PATH students, because we find that so many people are hoodwinking PATH, that many of them are not there. But I really do hope that from your positions, one of the things you can do is look at a dedicated bus service for the kids. We know it has to be subsidized, but if it's subsidizing for adults, I'm not seeing how we can't have something dedicated to help our kids. So I really hope something like that will be done.
Mother of 5-year-old, I still see my dead son's face. When Kimonro received a call about her 5-year-old Trey Graham in July, the last thing she had expected to hear was that her beloved son had been murdered. The boy, who is believed to have been beaten to death allegedly by his father, was found buried under stones in bushes in Hopetoun, Manchester. The distraught 26-year-old mother learned about the shocking news after her son's aunt reached out to her on Facebook. Since the gruesome incident, the St. Catherine mother, who lives in Kent Village with her other 2 children, has been on an emotional roller coaster. She has sought to cushion the psychological blow for her 3 siblings by telling them his death was make-believe. "Every time I close my eyes, fi sleep, me see him face," Rose said tearfully. "My daughter did hear, but me tell her say a joke because she keep on a look on him picture and a cry." Rose told reporters that her son was a bright and cheerful child who was highly intelligent. "My son, he was brilliant. Out of my whole 3 bikini them, he was the quietest one. Never do much talking or nothing," she said, adding that only issue she had with 3 was that he was a picky eater. Rose said that her son, who had just turned 5 on March 23rd, was supposed to have been spending time with his paternal grandparents in Maypen, Clarendon. But unknown to her, the boy had been at home with his father in Hopetoun district in Manchester, where he died. Reports from the Mandeville police are that around 7:30 a.m. on July 21st, residents spotted a mattress and sheet with blood stain outside his father's home. The boy's father, Quan Graham, who was arrested following an investigation, reportedly confessed to killing his son. It is alleged that Graham told the police where he had hidden the body. Although he lived in Manchester, Trey was reportedly well loved in the community of Kent Village. Many residents have been angered by his death, Rose said, noting that she is clueless why her son was killed. She, however, disclosed that the family has been having difficulties in mustering the funds to cover his burial. "I don't get no help at all," the mother said. Quan Graham, who was charged with murder on July 29, remains in custody and is slated to attend court shortly. Reporters were unable to ascertain the hearing date from the police information arm. Persons interested in assisting the family to burial may call 876-445-0753 or 876-477-4708. Future NHD homes to be retrofitted for disabled people. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says going forward, Jamaicans with disabilities will automatically have their NHD homes retrofitted to accommodate them. He says this is a more targeted approach than the previous subsidies.
We have said that for the houses that we're going to be building going forward, we are going to make sure that if someone who is disabled applies for the house and gets the house, we will retrofit the house up front. So in every scheme that we're going to be building going forward, there will be provision for retrofitted, purpose-built houses to accommodate persons with disability. And that can be very expensive, but that is more targeted. Previous policy was that if you are disabled or you're taking care of a disabled person, you could get a grant to upgrade your house so that the facility could accommodate a disabled person. And that grant was for $150,000. Yours truly, your Prime Minister, in fulfilling Michael Manley's legacy, increased that grant to $300,000 for disabled persons. Increased it. And if you are disabled and there are 2 persons in your household, or you are taking care of 2 disabled persons, that grant can be doubled. So you could get $600,000. Now, isn't that a better application of the subsidy, more direct to the people who need it? We are at an inflection point in Jamaica, an inflection point, a point where the society is going to do very well. We're going to take off. And there are a lot of people who are nervous about it. They are not sure what will happen with this inflection. They are seeing growth. They are seeing employment. How will the political landscape change? Will they remain relevant or will they be left by the roadside? And so there is quite a bit of false narratives, ridiculous narrative being placed out there, trying to maintain their supporter base or trying to gain new supporter base. But Jamaica is changing regardless.
More tourists visiting Jamaica for longer, says White. Director of Tourism Donovan White says the industry is noticing a significant influx and longer stays of visitors to the island compared to previous years, despite the COVID-19 pandemic.
What we have seen as part of this recovery is that our visitors are not only staying longer, they're staying about 15% longer. They're staying instead of 6.97 nights per visit, to somewhere closer to 8 or just over 8. But even more impressively, we are seeing them spending more than they have spent before per visitor per night. That number has moved from $168 per person per night to closer to $180 per person per night. That then will allow us to project our numbers, our earnings, to actually achieve full recovery at pre-COVID levels by the end of this fiscal period, which would be March of 2023. So it will be well ahead of the actual visitor arrivals numbers. To be exact, we anticipate that our earnings will hit somewhere in the order of $3.5 billion by the end of the year, compared to 2019 when we were just under $3.6 billion. The numbers are very impressive. The destination is enjoying a real buoyant period of promotion and demand in the marketplace right across the markets that we source visitors from. And we are now looking at beginning to attract visitors from some new markets that we have been paying attention to, particularly out of India and the Middle East, are areas of focus for us and have been focus for us for some time. And we believe that we will begin to see dividends on the time and effort that we have placed in these markets in 2023.
Were comments on long-awaited market in Negril. After years of delay, workers' comments on the long-awaited Negril fruit and vegetable market in Westmoreland. The site is now seeing land preparation works. This is a new step to bring the much-needed market to fruition, as disagreements over the years between the Ministry of Local Government and the Westmoreland Municipal Corporation stalled the project. During a tour of the site, Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie said he is pleased that the project has turned the corner. The process of relocation work is at an advanced stage. The bathrooms and the toilets are going to be put in, and the vendors have been given notice. I think after discussion with the mayor and CEO of the Westmoreland municipality, we extended the notice that was given to the vendors, McKenzie said. He gave commendations to Savannah Lamar Mayor Bertel Moore and Westmoreland Western Member of Parliament Moreland Hill, who he said have paved the way to get the market project off the ground. McKenzie pointed out that once the relocation of the vendors is completed, the relevant government agencies will come in as part of the approval process to get construction going. Noting that the market had an original estimate cost of $75 million back in 2016, McKenzie said it is expected that the price tag will go up. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell.